just like you said, and I've seen it myself, it still surprises me. And it catches my attention every single time at 3 o'clock in the morning when I see a young couple just walking through the park in the middle of the night. That doesn't happen here, because you're going to get mugged, shot, or robbed, and it's going to take the police on average 20 minutes to show up, if they even bother showing up.
Hello, everyone. Tate Brown here, holding it down for Tim Pool. We have an interview here with Nick Sortor. He's going to discuss the National Guard deployment in D.C. and break down what he's seeing on the ground. It's a great interview. Here you go. So let's see here. Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
How are we doing today? Well, do you want to tell the people who you are and what you do? I'm sure everyone knows, but for the one or two people that don't know.
Well, my name is Nick Sortor. I'm an independent journalist here in Washington, D.C. And honestly, I've never been prouder to say that I live in Washington, D.C. So yeah, this is new for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're seeing, I read your clip of Trump earlier where the reporter was trying to browbeat him. And he was saying, no, this is actually popular. People like this. People want to see our cities safe. I mean, what are you seeing on the ground when you're talking to D.C. residents? I mean, what's kind of the atmosphere right now?
Look, I mean, you're seeing the local media outlets are attempting to spin this as some sort of draconian takeover of, and martial law in the streets. And that's not at all what's going on here. I mean, the mainstream media, the local stations are all just trying to terrify everybody because, they profit in sowing division, really. Mm-hmm. And none of what they're saying is actually happening. Nobody is getting beaten by National Guard in the street, although I'd argue that some people here deserve to be beat by National Guard in the street. Maybe they'll shape up a little bit. But, what they're actually doing is their National Guard is stepping in to deter, and the federal agents are here to assist police officers in fighting everyday crime, because that's been a huge issue here for years. DC police on their own, because of the woke mayor and the chief of police, who was previously the chief of DEI at the department, that didn't know what chain of command meant when she was doing a press conference the other day. Yeah. They weren't allowing cops to be cops. So Trump took them over and there's a massive infusion of new cops on the ground here, and it's a totally different city. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been in DC this last week, and you see it, like, especially in the Capitol Mall, like you just see the Humvees just parked up on the grass, and it's like, typically that's a ominous sign. It's actually kind of liberating and freeing, because DC is it felt so unstable and hostile previously. And the funny thing is, the press is saying this is going to scare away tourists. This is going to, freak everyone out. And the people that are taking pictures of the Humvees are like clearly tourists, like they're from abroad. Yeah. So clearly the tourists don't care. And the locals, I mean, there does seem to be a bit of relief. You're seeing more people like jogging at night and these sorts of things, which in a first world country should be a standard. Right. I mean, have you heard much from the police themselves? I mean, what their thoughts are? Absolutely. Yes. I've been around, pretty much every single night. Like last night, I was out until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been, just kind of shadowing them to see what they've been doing, how they've been operating. And I've gotten to know a lot of them, actually. Mm-hmm. And they're ecstatic over it. I mean, I was actually, I don't know if surprised was the word. Let's say pleasantly surprised to hear how supportive MPD, Metropolitan Police, were to have feds with them, because they're feeling effective again. They're being allowed to do their jobs. They're being allowed. Cops are now allowed to be cops in Washington, D.C. Yeah. So morale is through the roof. And I'm not even just saying that. Like, I have spoken to these guys, dozens of them, and it's the same thing. They're excited. They're happier with it than I expected them to be. And that's a pretty incredible feeling as a resident here. Yeah, I bet. I mean, and it's just nice that, it's nice to see that. I mean, because the big balls thing was really just shocking. And it does feel like in a lot of ways that was what galvanized Trump to make this move. Yeah, but that was a normal thing in Washington, D.C. before. Like carjackings, even in I live in a pretty nice neighborhood. I'm like 2 blocks from the U.S. Capitol building. You can see it outside of my window right here. Mm-hmm. And right here on the streets, you have members of Congress that live in this same building. And they were having their cars stolen and carjacked out front. Like Uber drivers would come and pick people up. But you had teenagers that were just calling Ubers, right? And they'd get into the back of the Uber and they'd steal the car. So there's a bunch of Uber no-go zones here. or at least there were before this crackdown, because
Mhm.
carjackings were so rampant. That's what they were trying to do to Big Balls. They were trying to steal his car,
Mhm.
and he fought back, and they almost killed him for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane, and so it's like it's almost it feels like in a lot of ways the situation with crime in these cities, especially Washington D.C., specifically Washington D.C., it feels like okay, obviously there's all these explanations for why the DAs and everything, but most of all, it just feels like there's an attempt to demoralize patriots, to demoralize Americans by having their capital in such disarray. I mean, it's have you seen the mood improve among even the DC residents that'll probably say give some lip service like, oh, this is inappropriate or whatever. I mean, at least I've seen it. It seems like everyone's moods have just elevated a bit, even with the extra presence.
Yeah, so the actual residents here, unless you're a Democrat staffer on the Hill, for the most part, you are supportive of this too. If you're if me, I'm going out just as an individual talking to neighbors,
Hmm.
they all feel the same way. I have not spoken to anybody one on one at this point that didn't try to throw a camera in my face. That is against what's going on out here, because it's the same people every time. They're not from here. They're Democrat activists that are being shipped in here to like yell and heckle National Guard troops and such. There was one guy. This was a guy that wasn't even from here. It was near National Stadium over here. The Mets were in town playing the Nationals. This guy in a Mets jersey, so obviously he's not from here. He even admitted he wasn't
And he's
from here when I
obviously
confronted him.
unstable if he's wearing a Mets jersey.
Right. It
Right.
tells you all you need to know.
Right.
Uh, and so he walks past the National Guard. He's like, "Thanks for protecting us from nothing." And I'm like, all right. So now I gotta go follow this dude and get him on camera. And I haven't posted that one yet. But these people, for whatever reason, they're having a tough time understanding that the reason that there isn't any crime happening in the area is because of the National Guard. It's because of the feds in the area.
Hmm.
Right? You can't say, well, where's the crime? I don't see any crime. Of course you don't. Who the hell is going to, mug you in the middle of 16 National Guard troops?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a lot of data now that's have we seen? I mean, I imagine anecdotally, obviously this would be the case, but have we seen what the actual decline in crime has looked like over the last week or two? Has that been
Well,
released?
I mean, it's been incredibly significant. Violent crime is down over 80%, and then we haven't seen a murder in 11 days. Which,
right,
as Trump keeps pointing out, like you shouldn't have to brag about that.
Sure,
right? It's a city of 700,000. Like, it's not massive.
Yeah.
And we're saying, oh, guys, we made it 11 days, but that's a huge achievement in Washington D.C.
Sadly,
huge
yeah,
achievement.
Yeah. Yeah,
and we don't even actually know what the crime stats were before, because they were being manipulated, and that's not
exactly.
that's not speculation. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We know that now. They've now the city themselves, once they knew that the federal government was going to start looking into it, they took one of their top brasses and put them on leave because they were manipulating crime stats. So the city is admitting that too.
Yeah. It was that story. It was a DC police commander, and he was fudging the numbers. And a lot of people have suspected that for a long time. It was just interesting to see. I mean, because there was this thing where they were like, okay, all violent crime is down except for murders. And you sit there and you're like, and a lot of policing experts said the same thing, as they say, well, that's because you can't really cover up a murder, like when you're publishing these violent crime stats. Everything else you can kind of reclassify or make go away, but like a murder, someone's gone.
Because they were taking, for example, like home invasions and downgrading them to trespass.
Yeah.
Those two things, just trespassing is if you cross a fence line that you're not supposed to cross, or you refuse to leave Macy's when they try to kick you out.
Right.
That's trespassing.
Right.
Not breaking somebody's window and robbing them at gunpoint in their house.
Right. That's like saying, John Bolton just received a quick chat at the door the other day. That's all that happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're seeing, to kind of expand this conversation, we saw this morning, Trump saying that Chicago and New York are potentially on the menu. And I mean, those, especially Chicago, I mean, that seems like an extremely pressing case. I mean, do you think this model, I mean, because obviously it involves the federalization, so obviously DC it's a bit easier to pull off. Do you think this model, from what you've seen, could be expanded to other cities?
Yeah, in a way, yes. See, it's going to take more cooperation So look, just to put it in simple terms here, Washington D.C. is a federal district under the ultimate control of the federal government, right? That's in the Constitution.
Right.
So what you're actually seeing is decades ago, Congress actually they formed a local government and said it's called the D.C. Home Rule Act, and gave them like limited powers to enforce their own laws and what it gave them a little bit of autonomy. Well, Trump just revoked all that, right? He can't do that in Chicago.
Right.
So he actually had Pam Bondi deputize hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Secret Service agents and U.S. Marshals, and actually not U.S. Marshals, they're already deputized, and DEA agents, you name it, the alphabet soup. They've all been deputized here in D.C. So they can do more than just enforce federal laws. They can enforce local laws as well. You can't do that in Chicago. Right. It would have to take what you could do, and I haven't looked into this yet. This is just spitballing here. You could have the Cook County Sheriff. I don't know who that is. That's Chicago, probably a leftist. But theoretically, that sheriff could deputize federal agents, and then you could see the same thing happening on the streets of Chicago that are happening here in Washington, D.C. But Trump can't unilaterally do that. National Guard, even here in D.C., is not performing law enforcement duties.
Right. Yeah.
You have to do something really egregious for them to step in. So yeah, they wouldn't be doing that in Chicago either.
That makes sense. I mean, and I've seen a lot of, there's been chatter in the Trump admin that a big motivation for this is also to make ICE's job easier because they're receiving so much pushback from these, municipal governments. I mean, specifically in D.C., I mean, I guess Chicago and New York we'd have to see. Have you seen ICE's operations? Are they a bit more smooth now? Are they a bit more efficient with the National Guard? Or, I mean, what does that relationship look like?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they are, it's not even just ICE working here at this point. It's all of the alphabet soup folks that have been deputized. They're doing immigration enforcement as well. Like they're pulling people over. Contrary to popular belief, they're not pulling you over for not using your turn signal. They're pulling you over because they ran your plate and you have a warrant or you're an illegal. Yeah. And so they're pulling, that's why they're pulling people over. It's not like you don't have to worry about, hell, I mean, I'll just admit it here on camera. When I'm like looking for them, I'm turning right on red where I'm not supposed to, not using turn signals, whatever. And, they're not pulling me over. Right. Because they're not looking for me. They're not looking to terrorize people that are just living their lives. That's not what's actually going on. Yeah. But you have seen a lot of videos of them pulling these people over, pulling them out of vehicles and arresting them because they're illegals and turning them over to ICE. I don't know if you saw this from last week. They pulled over somebody near the National Mall. Of course, the liberal media was like, he's just a hardworking man and a father. Right. 2 hours later, it comes out that he's actually a child rapist who's illegally in the country. Yeah. So, this immigration enforcement here is through the roof. And I'm kind of excited to see those numbers. Hopefully, we'll have them by the end of the week here.
Yeah, well, and if you've taken an Uber in D.C., you know how much work they have to do. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll see HHS deploy agents to raid McDonald's across D.C. and replace the seed oils with tallow.
We're going to make this a shining city on a hill is what it's going to be.
Just emergency tallow deployments. I think that'd be a beautiful, like raw milk and the Coke machines. Like, I think we could really evolve this operation here. But yeah, I mean, the criminality is just it really was just embarrassing. I think most of all, specifically DC and New York, because, I mean, I know like we're America, rah, we're not, we're kind of focused on our business, but there is a degree of embarrassment when someone visits from another country and they see our cities like DC and New York and the state they are, because they're here to visit museums. They've seen these cities in the movies and they're painted so, magically, right? There's a Hollywood touch, obviously, but, and then they come here and they have these stories of like getting robbed or like just seeing like little stuff like open defecation of the homeless and everything. And it's just humiliating. I mean, I don't know. Have you spoken to tourists? Have any foreign tourists had anything to say about this? I'd be curious what they think.
Not necessarily foreign tourists that I've spoken with, but like to your point, you would go to the White House, for example, and I don't know if you're familiar with the off of the North Lawn, there's a park. Right. And it's full of homeless people, or was full of homeless people all the time, which is just wild. I mean, it's federal property in front of the White House, and Biden let them build a freaking homeless encampment.
Yeah, it looked like Coachella in Lafayette Park. It was crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you go near the State Department, where you have
Right.
foreign dignitaries and stuff going there. And I mean, that was actually one of the largest homeless encampments, was 100 feet from the State Department building. I mean, and this was just allowed to happen forever. And Trump, within days, had all that cleaned up. They were literally sending in bulldozers to if you did, they were giving you like 20 minutes, clean up your shit and get out,
Hmm.
or we're gonna arrest you and we're gonna bulldoze your camp. So
Yeah.
that's how you do it.
Yeah, the homeless. I mean, when I was there this week, I still did see a few tents. It was obviously far less, and it certainly wasn't in parks or anything. I mean, the parks you can actually go to again, which is quite nice. Yeah, you still see like on some overpasses or whatever, you would see like a tent every once in a while.
Sure.
Where are the homeless going? Do you know? I've always wondered this. Like, once they get booted from DC, like, where do they go?
I mean, look, they can go over to probably Baltimore. We'll just send them all there. Honestly, I'd do that. I'll
Yeah.
help pay for buses to send them all to Baltimore. Like, let's just designate certain cities in the United States shitholes. We'll send all the vagrants there, and we'll just quarantine them, cage
Yeah.
them in, and that'll be it. I'm willing to sacrifice Baltimore for that purpose.
I agree.
But
I mean, one of the bridges
I'm
is already
sorry
gone.
for all of the
so-
people from Baltimore listening right now.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, a bridge is already gone. You just got to knock a few more out, and then it's like a Alcatraz for the homeless, I guess. I don't know what's going on over there. I mean, there's two big problems. Obviously, one, the rats would eat through the tents right away, so then you would have another housing crunch. And then two, Baltimore.
They don't sustain gunfire very well. They don't hold up very well against gunfire.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then two, I mean, I don't know if you saw today, Kilmar got arrested in Baltimore. So it looks like even Baltimore is being considered for a renewal project. I don't know. I think there is this sense in the Trump admin that we're tired of conceding territory. Because you see with Zoran, the rhetoric around Zoran as they're saying, well, just that's what New York wants, that's what they deserve. Kind of the same thing with California. And the Trump admin, their messaging has been much more consistent. So every square mile of this country belongs to American patriots, and we shouldn't have to tolerate this, insanity that's going on. And that certainly seems to be the case in D.C. I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on this? I mean, is that kind of the sense? Is that what Trump's trying to do? Is trying to make the entire country kind of come to heel, and to some sense?
Absolutely. And, in all seriousness, I do think that we should be sending National Guard into Baltimore. I absolutely do. Use it. Use them for like taking our country back, taking every single street back.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to live like this. Nobody should be forced to live like this, because even in places like Baltimore, you have patriots that live there, right?
Right.
You have good law-abiding people that are being forced to suffer at the hands of these violent criminals because Democrat politicians, use them as power plays, right? Use them to they buy their votes off of them and stuff, and so they look. It's not. It's people want to say, oh well, this is dictatorial or it's fascism or whatever. No, it's not. It's actually fighting crime and just enforcing the laws that are on the books. Trump isn't writing laws with a pen. Right?
Yeah.
But we have to go back to actually enforcing these laws and taking these cities back. There's no reason that good people in Baltimore should have to suffer at the hands of violent gangs, especially foreign gangs like MS-13.
Yep.
And Trump is, I've said this from the beginning, DC is really supposed to be an example set for the rest of the country, because Trump has now taken what was an 80-20 issue. 80% of the country wants to live in in a safe city, right? The other 20% are mentally retarded or something, I guess. But it's now like a 97-3 issue.
Right.
People, so what's going to happen here? We're going to get closer and closer to the midterms. President Trump is going to continue with this pressure on these Democrats like Gavin Newsom and Wes Moore from Maryland. Mm-hmm. And what are they going to say? No, this argument that, our cities they are safe. They are safe. Come take a walk with me through, the ghetto. Trust me, it'll be safe. I mean, we'll have 50 security guards and police officers with us, but trust me, it's safe.
Right.
That's what Wes Moore was offering to Donald Trump. Said, "Come take a walk with me." And like, really? Okay.
Is that a threat?
Yeah.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be an example that President Trump is going to set. And he's going to back these Democrats into a corner. They're going to keep supporting violent criminals, and America sees that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the same thing where they're going to bat for these Kilmar Abrego types with ICE. It's like it's a new paradigm. We're trying to set the tone here. Like you said, DC is going to be an example, and it can be a preview of, I mean, what we're going to have to do to clean up other cities. If anything, it's going to be much more extensive. And like another thing, I think Trump's probably taken a page, or at least noted what's going on in El Salvador with Bukele, where Bukele kind of revealed the big gambit that's going on here, which is crime in 2025 is optional. Like with the amount of resources that these police departments have, and what the intel that we have, and what we know about human behavior, broadly speaking, is that crime really is just a switch that you flip. You either tolerate it or you don't. And Bukele just said, yeah, you know what? Actually, we're good. No more crime. Sorry, crime's legal now. Yeah. And he flipped a switch, and the next thing you know, El Salvador is the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And it seems like we could probably apply. I mean, surely we could apply. If a country like El Salvador can figure it out, I mean, no offense, but it's El Salvador. If they can figure it out, I mean, why can't we do this in Baltimore? Why can't we do this in, Chicago?
Oh, we absolutely can. The Democrats just have to get out of the way. Right. That's really it. I mean, it's as simple as that. You just have to enforce the laws that are on the books. That's it. And stop letting people out immediately as you bring them in. Right? The cashless bail system is absurd. And President Trump has a great point with that. That's when the big crime really started happening in recent decades, is when cashless bail started, because it's just, oh, okay, well, yeah, you might have murdered somebody, okay, but here's your court date. Come back in a year, and you're never going to see them again, right? I mean, that's the society that Democrats have created in cities like Washington and such. And obviously, he signed an executive order today here in D.C. Essentially outlawing cashless bail in the city. He has the power to do that as the executive in the federal district. So, and there's nothing the DC government can do about it. Cashless bail is now a thing of the past in Washington, DC.
Beautiful.
And that's great. It needs to be done all over the country. Congress needs to ban it federally.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen. But honestly, a Republican majority doesn't really have the balls, so I'm not sure that'll happen.
It's pulling teeth to get anything done at these chowderheads. But with the DAs, because you're on the ground a lot and you're speaking to locals, like not just normal people, is there kind of awareness, nationally, of how the DAs are really behind a lot of the calamity, or is it still kind of a relatively online sort of thing?
I think more and more people are waking up to that fact as being reality. We know what's going on because of we follow this stuff pretty closely. But I would say there's the legal system is obviously pretty complicated. So maybe not everybody understands exactly where the fingers need to be pointed, and that's why George Soros funds these DAs, because district attorneys are extremely powerful in the counties or cities that they're in, because they're the ones that decide almost unilaterally who walks free and who they pursue, right? You saw up there in Minnesota, I believe, when that somebody caused, one of Tim Walz's guys, of course, caused $10,000-$15,000 in damage to various Teslas, and the DA was like, "No, we're going to decline to press charges and just let them go." They have that much power. 10 or 15, that's a felony. Right. And they just like, nah, we're just not going to prosecute it. We have it on video. We have multiple videos from all these Teslas of him doing it, but we're just going to decline to prosecute. That is one of the worst issues that we're dealing with all across the country. And that's in DC. Trump brought in JAG attorneys, which are military attorneys, to work as prosecutors here. You can't do that in Baltimore. So then you have to rely on the DAs. So there's going to have to be some sort of awareness campaign, like, to make sure that everybody understands what they're voting for on the ballots, because a lot of people just, when you have people that work 12, 15 hours a day, for example, right? And they're going to vote, and there's 50 names on a ballot. They may not know who everybody is. So I don't know. I think we need to start pouring a lot more money into those DA races to counter George Soros, because you raise somebody's name ID, somebody that's actually tough on crime, put a lot of money behind them. If that's the only name that people recognize on the ballot, then they'll probably win, Republican or Democrat, in whatever city.
Well, funny enough, you saw it in San Francisco, of all places, is where there was kind of a bit of a revolt against the Soros DA.
Yeah.
And San Francisco, I mean, come on, like, it's
Right.
to the left of Mark's most San Francisco residents. And I mean, a large part of that was a lot of these, wealthier locals that were fed up, that had a bit more free time to look into the issue. Were able to allocate resources to the race, and were able to, elevate the profile of the non-insane DA. I mean, obviously this person would still be, broadly speaking, a Democrat, but at least someone that has their head on straight a little more. So, like, to your point, that there could be something to be said there. I have one last question for you. We kind of hit on it at the top of the interview. Is it really does seem like the left, broadly speaking, but also just on the street in DC, are kind of just demoralized at this point. I mean, your anecdote of the guy in the Mets jersey, where the best he could muster up was just a quick passing, like, shout at a guy. I mean, that seems like a group that realizes they're powerless and they're not entirely sure where to go forward.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely demoralized. I mean, because they've been for the past 7 months of this administration, you've seen, well, first of all, the money dry up.
Yeah.
That's been beautiful.
Yeah.
The USAID being pulled. It's not even just USAID. A lot of people think that, okay, well, it's USAID funding dried up, so therefore all the money is gone. It's not even just that. People aren't donating to these causes anymore because they're losing causes. And President Trump proved that by winning in a landslide in November. He took a hard line against immigration and the border and crime and such, and just defeating all of the woke nonsense. Men and women's sports.
Yeah.
People just aren't. There's not enough money behind it anymore on the left, and people are afraid to fund it because the right has gotten so much more powerful.
Yeah.
And you see, like, look at Cracker Barrel, for example, this past week.
Yeah.
Like, man, they have taken a beating. It's lost like $150 million in market value already.
Yeah.
And so you're not seeing these paid protesters go around anymore. And when you do, they're much, much smaller because, they can't afford it. And I think that's a huge reason for it, too. So the demoralization and the lack of funding, you're not seeing. I've seen like one protest here, like real protests, over the past 10 days.
Right.
In DC.
Jeez. Yeah.
And given the fact that they're calling it like a military takeover or whatever, normal people aren't believing that. They don't believe that lie. And like I said, the majority of them are happy to be in the street. So if they're happy to be safe and they're not being paid, what are they protesting?
Yeah.
So
very salient question. Well, Nick, thank you so much for your insights. This was fantastic. Where can people find more of you?
Find me on X because they'll ban me on every other platform. X at Nick Sortor, NickSortor. Appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Well, until next time.
Take care.
All right. Well, that was the great Nick Sortor giving us the scoop from the inside, from the streets. Fantastic. I mean, like he said, it's a combination, really. The demoralization, which is massive. I mean, the fact that Gavin Newsom is just parroting Trump tweets. That's an indication they're out of ideas. Bad sign, bad ominous sign for the left. And then obviously the USAID money drying up, another ominous sign for them. And yeah, they're out of money, they're out of cash, so they're, lashing out. But with that, thank you for watching. I am Tate Brown holding it down for Tim Pool. Hopefully we'll have Tim Pool back here sooner rather than later. I imagine so. He is recovering, make sure, because he's got to get it right. You got to get it right. You got to get the recovery right. Shout out to Serge for holding it down in the producer's chair today.
Thanks, bro.
The great Serge. So thank you for watching. You can find me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. Come give me a follow over there. Other than that, we'll be back tonight for Timcast IRL at 8 p.m. It's going to be a great show. We got Andrew Wilson in tonight, right? I think it's Andrew Wilson.
Don't remember who it is exactly. We got Poso on tonight. Poso,
it's official?
Poso,
let's go. Yeah. Oh, you got to tune in then. We got Jack Posobiec holding it down,
homie,
in the host chair, because we got some star power tonight. Then, so yeah, tune into that. I might be there. I'm just gonna show up just to I'm gonna peek an ear in if I'm not on tonight. But that sounds fantastic. So yeah, be there. Thanks for hanging out. We got some segments up on Timcast News today. I threw some segments up, so go give a look at that. See what you think. Give me a follow, and we'll see you tonight at Timcast IRL. Thank you.